All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thanks for being here. It's a cold morning out here in Texas. Hope you had a great week. Yesterday was Halloween. You can tell we're recording this on Wednesday. Welcome to a lot of the new clients that started this week. We rolled out the 8-week physique program that started this week. We have several custom clients starting this week and next. I feel like sometimes we don't do a great job of just reminding people that we do accept applications for new clients. I guess it's we don't promote ourselves a lot, but if you are already working out, you're not getting results, you know you should be working out, but you don't know what to do, just send us an application. Let's get on the phone and talk. Let's see what you're doing now and how we can help. I'll put a link for the application you can fill out. It's not a pressure situation, just a conversation to see if we're a good fit for you. We have a good episode for you today. We're going to be talking about the first 7 things that you should buy to start working out at home. A timely episode because Black Friday sales are already hitting your inbox.
Crazy.
Right
it's
now.
November 1st.
Holy smokes, Rogue already started their matte black sale, and I think they have another one that comes out a little bit closer to Black Friday. But anyway, the price on stuff is going down. Maybe you work out at a gym right now and you know you'll be more consistent if you work out at home. We're going to get into all the details of this. But before we get into that, of course, we have a sponsor for today's episode. We're sponsored by Purina Pro Plan dog food. And we don't even use this dog food. We feed our dogs something else.
This dog food just has caught my attention lately, and I was telling Jonathan about it the other day. They base the commercials just like shows really active dogs, jumping, chasing balls, whatever
chasing
active
their
dogs
tail.
doing, and the whole their like slogan is like, imagine what nutrition can do.
Or like the power of nutrition.
The power of good nutrition. Like, imagine what your dog is capable of with good nutrition. And it's true. It's true for people. It's really true. It's true for us.
Why is it so easy to care about the health of your dog and want to give your dog the best? But for your own self, it's like, if I have time, I'll
work on my nutrition.
I'll prepare my own food, or if I have time, I'll take care of my health with exercise. Anyway,
you should check it out. If it catches your eye, it is the Pro Plan commercial. It's been on a lot. We've been watching the World Series and stuff, and so it's been on TV a lot or something. But anyway,
I will say though, just on a serious note too, like if you're somebody who has worked out a lot but you've never really dove into how should you be eating, not only for weight gain or loss but for performance, it is super, super powerful. Like the changes you'll see in your, not only your physique and your energy levels, but in your performance in the gym, your digestion, your sustained energy throughout the day where you don't feel like you need a nap and you're not going up and down and up and down. All that lies in proper nutrition. So give it its due respect. Even if you want to treat it as like a challenge or a temporary thing that you try, see the effect that it can have. And the results you get will encourage you to go figure out more, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Quick recap on the Rogue Invitational last weekend in Round Rock, Texas. We don't have a lot of highlights to reveal from the actual event because
we only went one day, actually.
We went one day.
Out of 3.
It was cold. It got cold. It was raining even when it wasn't cold.
Well, Friday I was still getting over having the cold. Jonathan got me, so I was honestly not 100% up for going. So we got there, but we didn't go. We just stayed in the camper. We worked, and I kind of got behind on work last week because of getting sick. So anyway,
actual highlights though.
Saturday was awesome. Yeah.
The max deadlift competition
deadlift was amazing.
Was really cool.
It was so fun to watch.
And then I think it was just cool in general to see Laura Horvath win, despite Tia being there, and everybody was kind of wondering how's she gonna do when she goes head to head with the former champion.
Yeah. Well, as we watched it, my whole ideas of this, who I wanted to win, changed because I was like, what Tia has done is amazing.
Yeah.
She had a baby 6 months ago, and she is performing at the top level, even if she got beat by a few points. The fact that she is competing at this level. And I think she was here to test herself to see if she's ready to do CrossFit Games again. But man,
I have a feeling based on that, there's a good chance she's going to win the CrossFit Games again with more time to train before the next games. But then other highlights is we finally got to meet E.C. Sinkowski in person and get to talk to her. for quite a while. Like, we've met virtually many times, been on each other's podcasts, but that was a lot of fun to get to connect with her in person. And then totally randomly, we were standing there watching the 1 rep max deadlift event. And I looked to the side, and there's this guy shooting video content of just certain people. He would only kind of engage when certain people were doing their lifts. And I was like, I think this is the head videographer from Think Tank Training, who used to be the video producer for the old Barbell Shrugged podcast. If you remember way back in the day, his name is Chris. He goes by CTP, but he's really good friends with Alex Macklin. And we had just heard Alex tell us a story when we were all together at ACL about something they did crazy together. So ended up like asking if are you Chris? I think you're Chris. So ended up talking to him for a long time, and that was just really cool.
No one knows what you're talking about.
I think it's cool because, like, I mean,
yeah, like
2012, I started getting into this podcast, and like, you finally get to meet the person that you've been listening to all this time. So anyway, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, it's always cool to go.
Hopefully next year it's like a little bit better weather, and we can.
It's been good weather every year. This is just the 1 year it was rainy.
This was.
Hope it doesn't give a bad impression of them moving it from Austin, but yeah.
All right, we're going to get into this list.
Let's do this.
All right. So the first 7 things that you should buy to start working out at home. And we actually listed these out in order that we think you should.
Importance.
Yeah, go buy these things in this order.
Let's talk about why you even want to work at home.
Yeah.
Work out at home first. Like, what are some of the benefits of working out at home? What have you found?
You can wear whatever you want.
There's that.
But really, like, some people don't ever go to the gym because they're intimidated that like they have to look a certain way, or people are going to be watching what they do, or afraid about that their form isn't going to be right and people are going to be judging them.
Yeah.
I think post-COVID, like, I know a lot of clients don't want to go back to a gym because they're afraid of getting sick. Maybe not even COVID related, but there's a lot of germs in gyms. If you're in your own garage gym and you lay back and get sweat on the bench, like, not such a big deal. You go to do a set of dumbbell bench at 24-hour fitness or sweat all over the bench, you're like, gross, I'll just move on and do something else. So I think all those things are important. And I mean, it's in your house.
Yeah, the time, the time. I mean, like commute time. Like if you go to an hour class, there's the commute time there, the commute time back. At least a 2-hour plus block has been taken from going to the gym. Whereas if you're just like, if it's in your house, you walk out, it probably doesn't even take an hour. Yeah. And you're on your way.
Yeah, like if your workout is going to take an hour and you're going to a gym, whether it's a group class or just like a Globo gym, like you probably need to set aside 2 hours for that hour-long workout. If it's in your basement or in your garage, you're at an hour to get your hour-long workout done. And all that does is lead to more consistency, which, as we've talked about many, many times, that is the secret to getting great results over time, is increased consistency.
And we've talked about this a lot, but if you're used to working out with a group, you will have some like growing pains of working out by yourself, but I've really learned to like it. I like the freedom and the flexibility of being able to work out in my own space whenever I want with my own things.
Yeah. You get to arrange it in the way that you want, that fits your style of training.
Yeah. It's a great investment. Like, it's an investment. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your health. And it's something you could actually like sell. Yeah, like I feel like gym equipment does not like really like, you're not going to lose money on these things. Like I've purchased one of my first ever rowers and we've sold it for almost the same amount, like
high quality
you
stuff.
Can have these. Yeah. And I think like, as we go through this list, we'll talk about the quality of things to get. And I think it is worth spending money on getting high quality things that will last, that you only have to buy one time a decade or so, and that they hold their value.
Yep.
All right, so first, let's go through it. First thing on the list, what do we have?
Dumbbells. I don't know, maybe some people are surprised that this was the first thing, but they're just the most versatile thing you can use, pretty much. The barrier to entry is really low. And I would even say, like, more specifically, you might be tempted to go cheap or buy an adjustable set of dumbbells right off the bat just because you get so many different weights in one dumbbell, but I would actually say that's a mistake.
Yeah.
And to invest in getting a graduated set of actual dumbbells. And I would even more specifically say the rubber hex dumbbells, where it's like a black hexagon on either side of the dumbbell, and you buy them in pairs. We have the adjustable dumbbells for travel. The bad thing is, like, they go up to 50 pounds, and anytime you want to move them from place to place, you have to move them when they weigh 50 pounds. So that gets a little bit old because they're heavy. They're awkward to hold because the handles are a weird shape. They're awkward to...
Well, the shape of them is a 50-pound dumbbell. It's like the size of a 50-pound dumbbell, and then the weight just decreases. So even if you have 10 pounds on there, it's this huge object.
Yeah.
So they're very awkward to use. And ours, unfortunately, we got ones that only change every 10 pounds. So you can go from 10 to 20 to 30. So you have fairly big jumps in there.
Right.
You know, I more commonly would grab like a 15 or a 25 or 35. So you don't have those 5-pound increments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason that we say get the rubber hex dumbbells is the size, the handle size.
They're durable.
They're durable. You could, if you drop them on the ground, they're not going to break. And they're sturdy. Like we program a lot of things for people where, like, sometimes you have the dumbbells on the ground and they're not rolling around on you.
Yeah. Another kind of adjustable dumbbell are the ones where you buy just the metal handle and then you load the metal plates on and put the clamps on and everything. Definitely don't recommend that for home use. Like, you're more often going to be like, I don't want to hassle with changing it. I'll just skip this exercise. And you could never do anything like you're talking about, where you're like doing a deficit push-up or a renegade row or a devil's press or anything like that. It wouldn't be safe to do it that way.
Yeah. So one of the most important things when you're getting dumbbells is to have a variety of sizes. So you don't have to start off with every size. You can definitely increase your weights as your strength increases, but to start off with enough sizes where you could do light things like reverse flies, shoulder presses, and heavy things like squats and deadlifts. So you want to think about where you are in your strength journey and what sizes you would need to start with, and give yourself some ranges there to grow as well.
And I would say, like, you know, you could probably skip some of the in-between sizes in the really light
you don't
weights.
Need every 5 increments.
But when it starts getting heavier, that's when you need to think about getting increments of 5. Like, you probably don't need like a 10, a 12 and a half, a 15, a 17 and a half. Like, no, you could probably go straight from a 5 to a 10 to a 15 to a 20.
You don't
forget the 5. Like, some people may even be able to go from a 10 to a 20, guys at least. But anyway, the point is, like, if money is limited, skip some of the smaller increments in the lighter weights. What would you recommend, like, as like a beginner set for most ladies?
I would go 10, 15, 20, 25 is a great set there, and then you will eventually grow and need that 30, 35 for ladies.
Yeah. I think guys probably would want to at least go up to 40, if not 50, because, you know, you'd be surprised how quickly you can get strong on things like dumbbell bench press and dumbbell deadlift. So the 50s would come in handy pretty quickly.
So if you're ready to invest in these, I think the weights we would recommend would be like get a 10, a 15, a 20, a 25, a 30, a 35, a 40, and then a 50. We don't have 45s. We have kettlebells that weigh 45 pounds, so we can use those if needed. So, and I think that's like that one weight where you can eventually jump from 40 to 50 for a lot of things like dumbbell rows and things. Yeah. But I think that's a good starter set. And then you have, you know, some 65s and 75s and things like that. But
and I would say, like, you know, these take up a lot of space sometimes. So look for a used rack or build a rack out of wood for yourself, but don't just like try to spread them out on the floor in one big long line. Try to tier them so they take up less floor space, and they'll be easier to pick up off the rack than getting them off the ground every single time too. All
right.
I'll send you a picture of our dumbbell rack if you need just a basic idea of how to do one out of wood.
All right. Second thing on the list is a bench.
You got the dumbbells, let's get a bench so we can start doing some different exercises with these things.
With the bench, we can add in some bench press. I mean, you can do floor press. You get more range of motion with a bench press, so because your elbow can drop below the bench. You can support yourself for dumbbell rows. You can do supported flies. You can use it as a step. You can use it as a box, you know, in lieu of a box, if you have a sturdy enough one.
You can prop one end of the bench up to do chest supported rows. And I wouldn't even waste the money on an adjustable bench. We've had incline, decline benches before. They're heavier, they're more cumbersome.
They're awkward to move around.
And you're just not going to incline and decline them very often, so save your money.
But when we do, like, we have the flat bench, and when we need to incline, we just prop it up on a box, and it's super sturdy, and we feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's even some brands of benches online, for sure on Amazon, that the legs will fold underneath. So if like you really are short on space and you're using your room for things other than working out when you're not working out, you can fold it down, slide it under a couch, whatever. They're not quite as sturdy as a welded unit, of course, but we have a lot of clients that have them. Your mom has one, and they work perfectly fine. We've used it many times when we've been at their house.
All right, third on the list, bands. So bands are great for warm-ups. Bands are great for travel. They are cheap. They last a long time. They're just a great thing. I pretty much, every program that we write, I have like TheraBands. And I'm not talking about the loop bands. I'm talking about the like single length bands, and they usually come in 3 different strengths that you can use for like face pulls, band pull aparts, curls. It's a great accessory.
Yeah. The loop style bands, like they can do a lot of the same things that the TheraBands do, but like a lot of times if you're doing something with the loop band, there's a lot of extra band that you're not actually using for the exercise, and it just gets in the way and it's kind of flopping around.
And if you hold them with both, it's a little bit too strong for like pull aparts and face pulls and some of the things that you're doing.
Right. So now that we're going to talk about another piece of equipment in here in a second, but if you're trying to get better at pull-ups, then you need to buy the loop style bands, because the TheraBands are not going to help you get better at pull-ups.
In addition to your bands, a hip circle. So this is in the same grouping.
Hip circle is like a brand name made by Barbell, but tell everybody what the point of the hip circle is.
The hip circle is a tight, and I would always recommend the fabric band. We're going to have a list of all this stuff so people know what we're talking about. But I would always recommend the fabric hip circle, and it's something that you step into it and you pull it up above your knees, and you do things like a squat. And what it's doing is it's like putting resistance on your legs, and so you're trying to force your like, your squat position into this band. We do like side steps, monster walks, glute bridges. I pretty much definitely in the abs, arms, and the rest program, there's tons of hip circle in there. For the physique program, there's hip circle. I use the hip circle for warm-ups. Love it.
Yeah. And that's another great one for travel too. Like it sometimes can be hard with travel to like really get a good leg workout in, but having the hip circle can make a big difference for that. All of our clients that see their finishers with the hip circle finishers know exactly what we're talking about.
So if you had dumbbells, a bench, and the TheraBands and a hip circle, you could jump in and do any of our programs or our coaching. Like that is like the basic set right there. With a variety of dumbbells. That's your general starter package. That you are set. You could hit the warm ups, you could hit the finishers, and get all the strength, bodybuilding, and conditioning in between. But we do have some more things on the list.
Yes, this will get you to a certain point, and then if you want more, here's what else you need.
Yeah.
Number 4, a squat rack with a pull-up bar. Our very first squat rack that we bought one that didn't have a pull-up bar on it. So when we had to buy another one, we made sure that we did. It's a great way to like get an extra piece of equipment. Yeah. Because you can buy the door mount pull-up bars.
Or the wall mount.
The wall mount. But having it on your squat rack is just a great, I don't know, it makes your squat rack feel a little bit steadier. And it's just nice to have everything there all together. The good thing about having a pull-up bar is like there basically is no other piece of equipment you could have at home without spending a lot of money that will replicate the muscles that you get to work and the strength you get to build with a pull-up bar. You could buy a lat pull-down machine, get ready to shell out like $1,000 or $2,000,
and have a big floor print of space taken up in your gym.
Also, having a pull-up bar gives you a place to loop your bands on top of for things like face pulls and band pushdowns. You could hang rings from the pull-up bar on your squat rack for ring rows and for dips and all that kind of stuff. So when you buy a squat rack, look for one that comes with a pull-up bar.
I mean, if you're like a CrossFitter, this kind of pull-up bar might not work out for you. You can't really adjust the height, so they're a standard height off the ground. There's at the top of the pull-up bar. Jonathan has to like really pull his legs up to do a pull-up. But if we're just talking about for general strength
and strict pull-ups,
these are fine. They will work fine. Our pull-up bar actually has like a regular size and then like a fat bar, so you can adjust your width and things like that.
If you're training butterfly kipping pull-ups,
this is not the pull-up bar for you. It's 2 pull-up bars like that are on top of each other. You're not going to really be able to do kipping pull-ups on this thing, but so
that's not our general client. On looking for a squat rack, you have a lot of different options. There's everything from just your traditional rack with 2 uprights to half racks, which is like 4 uprights, but they're kind of close together. And then there's power racks, which are 4 like posts that are kind of like a cage, and you do your squats and your bench presses inside the 2 sets of posts, because there's safeties that go in between to like catch the weight if you were to fail. For 99% of our clients, they don't have power racks at home. They take up a much larger footprint. They're more expensive and a little bit of overkill. So if you're just getting into working out at home, I would just get a reputable brand squat rack with 2 uprights and the pull-up bar and call it good enough. Of course, some of our favorite brands are Rogue. Of course. Rep Fitness makes high quality stuff. Titan makes high quality stuff. Just be careful of the stuff that looks like it's made of really, really thin steel. If you go to like Academy or Dick's or a place like that, flick the material and see if it feels like it's made of like aluminum foil or not, and steer clear of those brands. Not only it might not be as safe, but you're not going to get any money for it if you ever wanted to sell it on the back end too.
All right.
Next on the list,
barbell and plates.
We've comboed these together for a reason.
Well, yeah. No need to have plates if you don't have a barbell. No need to have a barbell if you don't have anything to load it with. But
I think it's a common mistake people make is they go buy a barbell and like.
Well, the reason that this is number 5 and not number 4 is that to me there's no reason to buy a barbell if you're not going to also invest in the squat rack, because you can only do so much with a barbell on the ground. You can do basically deadlifts and that's it. You can't do squats over a certain weight because you can't get that bar on your back. You can't, you can do presses up to a certain weight. You can do presses, but
overhead press.
You can't do bench press. So that's why this is under squat rack.
Yeah. What would you recommend as far as barbell, like between males and females that are going out to buy a barbell?
Like, should you go with a male or female barbell? I mean,
barbells don't actually have sexes, but what are the differences?
So there's two different barbells you can get. There's a 45-pound barbell, that's just your standard barbell, and then there is they call it a women's barbell or a Bella barbell if you get it from Rogue, and it's a 35-pound bar. The benefit of it is it has a smaller diameter for a smaller woman's hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I started with a men's barbell. If you work out, if there's 2 people working out, it's a guy and a girl, you just can afford a 1 barbell, just go with the 45-pound barbell and you're going to be fine. If you're a female and you're working out by yourself and you're investing, I would go with the women's barbell. I prefer those. I like, they're easier to move around. I like the width.
You got to watch out too. Like, I've noticed that some of my clients have gone out to buy barbells and they've like gone to a sporting goods store or bought them used, and they're an odd weight.
Yeah.
Like 33 pounds, 47 pounds. So be careful of like these odd brands that you've never heard of that there actually are 45 or 40 or 35 pounds. It just make your life easier when you're trying to keep track of how much weight you're lifting, especially if you're working with a coach.
I mean, to be honest, like going to a site like Rogue and like we said, like spending the little bit of money for the quality products, I think it's number one. It's going to last. I have my same barbell that I purchased. I still use today. I purchased this sucker in like 2010.
Yeah.
And it's 2023.
Yeah.
And I still use it.
Money well spent.
That was money well spent. I still have the first rower ever bought in like 2011. You know, like, and I've pretty much bought all our equipment from Rogue, and it is quality. Like, I basically sold everything I bought at my gym for more than I paid for it. And that was thanks to COVID, but all that stuff has held up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I would say
spiel over on that. Well, let me say something about the plates you're going to get.
Okay.
So, you got the barbells. You got 45s or 35s, depending on your preference there. 45-pound barbell or a 35-pound barbell. And then, you want to talk about what kind of barbell to get?
I was just going to say, like, test out the barbell and make sure that the sleeve where the weights slide onto, make sure that it spins. At least in the people that we train, like, you don't want to have a barbell where that doesn't spin, because it can cause you some wrist problems. It's a sign of a high quality barbell.
What it allows it to do is like, as you're moving the bar, picture yourself like bringing the bar up to the front rack position. It allows the plates to spin around, because as they normally would. You don't want that to be like a stiff.
Yeah. If your collars, if your sleeves don't spin, you have a cheap barbell that you don't want to buy. So we can just skip that one.
Yeah,
anything you buy off Rogue will spin.
If you start looking at, if you're starting off and this is my first barbell, and you start to look at Rogue site, you're going to be overwhelmed by the number of barbells that they have.
Yeah.
Their basic barbell is good enough.
The Ohio bar, they call it.
Their basic barbell is perfect, and the women's barbell is called the Bella bar. I mean, you don't have to get the Olympic bars or anything else. That's crazy. But
another thing to watch out for on barbell before we get into the plates is the knurl, which is like the indented part that you actually grip. Those vary from brand to brand and barbell to barbell as to how sharp and aggressive they feel. There's nothing worse than getting a barbell that you think you're going to love and then realizing it's like destroying your hands. So you want the Ohio bar, for example, will have an average knurl. If you go to buy like a powerlifting bar or one that's made for deadlifting 1,000 pounds, it's going to have a super aggressive grip that's just going to destroy you. So don't go to the extreme when you buy a barbell.
Like we have an easy curl bar, and that's probably like more the equivalent of like a cheap barbell. Right. It has the most aggressive knurl that you can, and it's probably 8 to 9 years old and has not worn down. And I'm like, I have to stop my set of curls just because my hands are dying, not because of anything else.
Not because your biceps are worn out.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about plates. This is an important piece in your purchasing of barbells and plates. Make sure that you get plates that are the appropriate diameter. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that like every plate is as big as a 45-pound plate.
They're called bumper plates.
Yeah, a 45 the rubber bumper plates. A 45-pound plate is so big. A 10-pound plate weighs 10 pounds but is the same size.
Yeah.
What we don't want to get is those metal plates that are like the 25 is smaller, the 10 is smaller, the 5 is smaller. Because when we're doing things like pulling a deadlift off the ground or even just picking up your barbell, if you have just 25s on there, is so low to the ground, it's not a safe position. You have to, as your coach, I'm going to make you build it up and build a platform to pull that bar off the proper height. It's going to be a big pain in the butt.
Right.
So I would invest in bumper plates. They're much quieter. They're easier to move around your gym, and they're going to be all the same diameter.
Yep.
And if you just like Google bumper plates on Rogue, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
If you Google bumper plates on Rogue,
you know what I'm talking about. You're going to see what I'm talking about, and you'll understand what I'm talking about with them all being the same size. So when we talk about the plates that we want to, start off with some 10s, some 15s. I think 15, especially for women, is a very usable weight there. A pair of 25s. And some 45s. Mm-hmm. But you're also going to want to grab some metal 5s and 2.5s because we're going to want to build, especially things like presses and bench presses, we're not going to want to build 20 pounds at a time by popping 10s on each side. Right. We're going to need those smaller increments.
I think people forget the 2.5s a lot.
2.5s are super important when it comes to the upper body pressing.
Yeah. And those can be cheap metal change plates that you get at Walmart or whatever. Don't need to spend a lot of money on those. The
2.5s and 5s can be your cheap metal plates, but everything else should be the bumper plates. We suggest.
I would say that's those weights that you just mentioned are exactly where you should start. If you plan on getting really strong, I would put your money into one additional pair of 25s and one additional pair of 45s. Mm-hmm. If you have 2 pairs of 45s and 2 pairs of 25s, you can load the bar up to 325 pounds really easily and still have room to go
with some change
from there. So, and just having those extra 25s is really handy because as you load from like 135, 185, 225, 275, having the 25s is really handy. We didn't put this on the list, but you should buy some clips for your barbell too. Don't ever use them when you're bench pressing, but clips for squats, deadlifts, anything else that you're doing. Safety first. Keep the weights from sliding off. No reason to spend a lot of money on these unless you're a baller. We have one pair of really nice clips that I bought at the Rogue Invitational 2 years ago for maybe $80. Jeez. It was a huge splurge, but man, I love those things. But the stupid little spring clips that you put on and off, those work just fine if you can spare a little bit of frustration.
The difference is like the nice clips that he got, as you move the barbell around, you'll notice like you doing deadlifts or whatever, you drop the bar, they do not move. Right. Those things are solid in place. Like the clips that I have are cheap little plastic clips. And as I'm working out, they get loose and the weights slide down, and I have to just readjust them. It's no big deal. The plates are going to stay on. They're not going to fly off, but I have to readjust them every time the bar bounces. His are like locked in place.
Hey, can we pause this podcast and change seats, because I'm getting a sunburn on this side of my face. I need to rotate around.
All right, we're almost done. That was the 5th. 6th thing is a jump rope. Again, I was thinking about all the programs I write. There's not one program I write that I don't usually have a jump rope in there. If you don't have a place to run, you don't have anything else in your gym to get your heart rate up, and you don't want to spend all your time doing jumping jacks, I'm going to have you doing some jump rope.
It's really good for improving your coordination too.
It is.
There's a reason that Rocky was doing all those jump rope.
I love to use them in warm-ups to get your heart rate up, and I love to use them in conditioning to keep your heart rate up during a conditioning workout.
Good for travel also.
There's 2 kinds of jump ropes out there. There is the rubber kind that you're probably used to. Just ignore the beaded kind that we all had in elementary school. That's not what we're talking about. There's the rubber jump ropes, like a jelly rope. And then there are speed ropes that are wire. If you have an indoor gym and you have mats, I definitely recommend, even if you're just a beginner in jump rope and you're not doing double unders yet, I recommend the speed rope. They're not heavy on your arms to spin, and they have like a ball bearing in there, so you can, when they spin, when you rotate your arm, like the rope will spin. The jelly ropes are kind of like, it's like a piece of, I don't know, silicone or plastic or something, and then
there's a piece of jelly,
a big plastic handle, and they make your shoulders tired, and like they don't spin easily. So they're going to be really hard to like learn more of the advanced jump rope skills. But all this to say, if you only jump rope outside, only go with a jelly rope. The wire jump ropes cannot handle spinning on the concrete. They will rip up day one.
They'll be dangerous.
You will literally be making sparks as you jump rope. So depends on where you jump rope. If you jump rope outside, only jelly rope. If you jump rope on any kind of matted surface, I would go with a speed rope. And again, you're going to be overwhelmed by the number. We actually were just trying to give away a jump rope, but no one took advantage of my do 10 burpees in costume yesterday. And I was going to send somebody a jump rope. No one took advantage. No one wanted to do 10 burpees. Maybe I haven't
logged into Instagram.
No one did 10 burpees. I'm disappointed in this. But you can get a jump rope for like $20 to $30. A good speed rope on Rogue. I mean, they'll go all the way up to $70, but just
it's a good stocking stuffer.
All you need is like a $20-ish speed rope.
All
right. Last thing on the list.
Get out your checkbook.
Is a cardio machine. This is like, like we said, numbers 1 through 3 were like get you started. Then you're going to add the squat rack and the barbell and the plates and the jump rope. You're good to go. I mean, I would honestly put jump rope after the bands. Like, let's move jump rope. So dumbbells, bench, bands, and a jump rope will get you going for a long time. Then you're ready to add some strength. You're going to go with the squat rack with the pull-up bar, barbells, and plates. Now we've been working out for a while. We're always going to have like this reason why we can't go outside. Like the kids are inside. We don't want to leave the house. It's raining. It's cold. It's hot. Whatever it is outside, we can't get our heart rate up inside our garage space. Some sort of cardio machine. And this is your preference, what you have space for, what you have money for, what you like to do. This can be the cheap treadmill that
the walking pad.
We run on that sucker all the time.
That's about $350.
It can be like a bike, like an assault bike, an echo bike, a Schwinn, the Airdyne bike. Those are fairly cheap. You can get a lot.
Well, those are about $750.
Well, I got some used ones for my gym that were cheap. Those are great. I mean, just something to get going on. You know, it does not have to be like the nice. Bike. I mean,
even like a used like spin bike.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like those Schwinn things.
I'm not even talking about with the fan. I'm just talking about like the ones with like the metal disc.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
So this can be a treadmill, a bike, or a rower.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also ski ergs out there. Same thing. We personally never used the ski erg, but I'm sure they're great too. But anything that can get you getting your heart rate up without having an excuse of like, hey, I can't leave the gym space.
Yep. And this is good too, just for like even not part of your training, but just being active. Like
getting your steps in.
You got 30 minutes to kill. Like you have to take a long phone call. Go sit on the bike and pedal while you talk to the person.
If we had one here, I'd be plugging it in outside right now and getting some steps in.
I think it's warmed up enough to where
I'm
we
at
can
like
go for a
200
walk.
steps. I can't take this camper life.
I'm at 550.
It is ridiculous. It's 11 o'clock, but at home because we have like a lot of space
We'd have a
to
couple
move.
thousand steps.
Yeah, that would be like at 4,000 steps by now.
Yeah, we gotta go for a walk after this.
I'm like under 500.
All right, do you want to throw in any bonus items that are kind of like fun to have?
So you've got all your setup. You're all the way through the cardio machine. Now someone says like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And you're like, "Well, I just made this whole purchase of my gym equipment, but here's some bonus things you can ask for." An ab mat.
What is an ab mat?
An ab mat is you put it under your back to do sit-ups.
But it's kind of counterintuitive. An ab mat goes on your back, not on your abs.
Look it up. I highly recommend one of these for sit-ups. Like I put sit-ups in the programs all the time. This just makes sit-ups better.
Yeah, gives you like a place to support your low back and kind of hinge on when you do sit-ups.
Yep.
Google it. It's like $20.
Yeah, they're easy. They're cheap. A slam ball. If I could require, I've said this many times in the podcast, require every one of our clients to have a slam ball, I would. They are cheap and they are a great piece of cardio equipment. It's like a rubber ball that you take overhead and you slam on the ground and it doesn't bounce.
It's like a dead weight. Like it's not like
a
medicine ball like that will bounce back at you. It's not rubber. I mean, it is rubber.
It feels like a flat ball.
It's full of sand.
It's full, or not sand. I don't know what it's full of. But anyway, you just slam it. Exactly what it sounds like, a slam ball.
Right.
But man, they're great.
It's like a great substitute. Like if you have had back problems with kettlebell swings in the past, a lot of people can do slam ball without a problem. It's a conditioning tool, but man, they will fire up your arms and legs too. So I like our slam ball.
Yep. And the last thing I would get is
what about a weight on the slam ball?
Probably like 15 to 20 for women and then like 20 to 30 for men. That's pretty much all you need because this is something that you're not going to try to load this heavy. This is something that you're going to do on repetition.
Okay.
I like the 20 for myself. And like at the gym, I would say like women grab the 20s, men grab the 30s. And then, if you need to scale 15
I use
to 20.
I use 100.
You use a 30. And these can be got bought off of Amazon.
Yeah.
They're cheap. Yeah.
I feel sorry for the delivery driver delivering some of this stuff.
All right, and the last thing to ask for is a kettlebell. Because even though you have dumbbells and you can do like dumbbell swings, they're awkward. I really appreciate that we have some kettlebells. I like to use them a lot, and they're another great conditioning piece.
Yeah.
For the sizes on these, for women, I would go like 26 to 35. Like the sizes of kettlebells are kind of weird.
Yeah.
But 26 to 35 for women. If you're like super novice, then they have an 18 pound. So 18, 26, or 35. And then for men, 35, 45, or 53 are the sizes there.
Yeah.
So I would two kettlebells of various sizes is pretty much all you need. I mean, you can even get away with one if you just like, I have a X kettlebell, but I like to have like probably two, so you have like a lighter one and then one that you're going to use for some heavier things. So you can do swings, of course. You can do goblet squats. You can even do like kettlebell curls.
Sumo deadlifts. They're fantastic for sumo deadlifts. I use these a lot. I would say kettlebell is something you could probably buy used pretty well. Like check Facebook
Be careful on
Marketplace.
those too for used, because we found that we do have some like off-brand ones and the handles are very thick and they are rigid, and so like kettlebell is gonna move. You're gonna move it.
When you say rigid, you mean like there's like a seam that will rough up your hands.
Yeah, like
you need to test it out.
Yeah, test it out. And we have rogue kettlebells from the gym, and then we have the cheap kettlebells we got when we first started buying kettlebells, and those are rusted out, and the rogue ones have stood the test of time.
What a surprise. The better ones are better.
They stood the test of time. They were sitting in an outdoor garage gym for years and years and years and years and years, sweating in the Houston humidity, and they turned out fine. Which is a little bit of love on them every once in a while. Polish them up. A little bit of oil. Yeah.
I think that you just made me think about that expression when you think about buying anything. You're like, man, there's like a really cheap option for this. There's an expensive option. The expression "buy once, cry once." Sometimes it's worth it to spend the extra money on the nicer thing that is going to last longer than to buy the cheap thing that ends up wearing out and you got to buy it again. So think about that.
Whenever I purchased, when I opened my gym, I opened like January 18th. So I purchased everything on like the Black Friday sales for my gym. And it was I remember going when the guy delivered this. I ordered like the Rogue package of kettlebells, so it was like 4 of every size, like the 18.
I think it was actually like 6 of every size,
all the way up to the 70s, and it was in a pack. It was like,
on a pallet.
On a pallet, and the delivery driver came. It was just me and him there. And he was like,
he's like, you gonna help me with
how are we gonna get these I mean they were wrapped, like,
yeah.
And he was like, do you know what this is? And I was like, it's kettlebells. And it was so heavy, like he almost, like, I can't remember the situation.
He had one of those like dollies you pull a pallet with, but there was kind of a ramp.
Injured himself bad trying to get these kettlebells delivered anyway.
Yeah, that's not the cry once that I'm talking about. All right. You gonna put this list in the show notes? All right, cool. So that's the first 7 things to buy if you want to start working out at home. And hopefully we convinced you that if you're not as consistent as you want to be, maybe working out at home could be the missing piece for that. Yeah. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave us a rating review if you have time. If this is your first time watching us on YouTube, subscribe before you leave.
You can't really see us because the sun has changed. We're like shadows in here.
Oh, well. All right. Hope you guys had a good day.